Hi guys, so this is a Creative Make coffee filter roses, and before I start I am going to say it's a little bit tricky. It's lots of fun and it can take over 2 activity sessions, which is really good, but it is quite messy and a little bit tricky, but the finished result is amazing. Okay, so a little bit about the equipment first. So I'm using bleached coffee filters. Really, you should use unbleached coffee filters, but my order from Amazon hasn't come in yet, so I've had to use these. They still work, but the colours can be a bit bright, rather than muted with the unbleached coffee filters. So coffee filters, you do need to wear gloves. If you don't wear gloves, your hands will be stained, as I found out when I stopped doing my first go at doing it, and I had blue hands. So if you want blue hands, go ahead and don't wear gloves. You also need some kind of towel to wipe the gloves off in between doing the dyeing, which is important because you don't want the dyes to mix, because the filter paper really does soak up the dye a lot. What I'm using is a mixture of, I've got food colouring, soap colouring, and also I use some ink. So anything that's like that, not paint, and paint you can't really use. And the colours I managed to get out of these look like this. There's a really nice bright yellow, the red's a little bit muted, orange, green is lovely, and the blue is really vibrant and bright as well. But today I'm just going to be using green, red and yellow, and I'm only going to show you how to dye 2 different ones, to show you 2 different processes. So I'm going to put my, the other thing you need is masking tape. I'm going to be using glitter and glue. You're going to need some bowls to put the dye in, and also some skewers which I've cut down and sanded to put the rose heads on. Right, okay, so I'm going to put my gloves on. As you can see, they're already stained yellow. This is the messiest bit really, but it is a lot of fun because you can really experiment with the colours, which I'm hoping to do later today when my arrival of filter papers comes. So all I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to show you 2 processes. So this one is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the yellow dye, and you can wring it out as well, get as much dye out as possible, and then I'm just going to, don't know if you can see that yet, and then I'm just going to dip it very lightly into the red dye, just here, and the filter paper takes up, she says, takes up the dye beautifully. So I'm just going to dip it in and get a bit of the red dye going. Oops. And then I'm going to turn it up that way and let the red dye seep into the paper. So I don't know if you can see, it sort of like has a red tinge to the end. And then once you've finished sort of like playing around with the filter paper, you need to let it dry, and you're going to use a lot of filter papers to make up the roses. So this bit of the process is really fun in terms of what you can do with the dye and all the different colours you can make, just simply by using primary colours, red, yellow and blue. Oh, I dropped that in the wrong place. Never mind. Right, I'm going to wipe my hands now, and I'm going to do a green one, and I'm going to use a paintbrush as well. Got my paintbrush, and I'm getting dye all over this already. As you can see, like just by touching it, the dye goes all over the filter paper. So I'm going to put this in the green dye. There's not much left of that, and give it a bit of a ring. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want to put this into the yellow dye, because I might get some of the green in the yellow. So instead I'm going to use a paintbrush, and I want to get sort of like a mottled colour with the yellow. I'm just going to paint a bit of it on the edges like that, and you get a different effect with the green. Okay, so these are the papers that I've made up to do my rose. I've got a yellow, one that's sort of got a slight orange tinge, and then one where I've actually dipped the yellow into the red, and you can see it's quite a nice effect there. I've got a couple of reds, darker red for the outside, and some greens as well. We're going to start off with the centre, which is going to be yellow, and you need a pair of scissors for this. I'll firstly going to snip off that end bit there, and I'm going to cut off the joining parts of the filter. You can get different shape filters as well, which is good. Blimey. Okay, right, so that's what you're left with, this shape, and I'm just going to cut around to make it a bit easier to see the sort of like cone shape that you get. And the first thing you want to do is make some tiny little cones with it. So I'm thinking I'm going to cut around I want the ends, those ends to come off, because I want them straight. So you're left with that kind of shape. Let's tidy up a bit. Okay, so you're left with that kind of shape, and you're going to make small cones first, and this is where the masking tape comes in. So what I do with this is I usually show you, turn over the end of the masking tape that side, which sticks it down and keeps it straight, and then you want to basically ruffle up the edges of the filter paper to make sure that you have a straight line as much as possible on the masking tape. I can tear that bit off there, and then I'm just going to make a small tiny little cone with this. So that's going to go in the centre of the flower. Okay, so I finished making the middle. I did actually put 3 together in the end because I had some offcuts and I thought they look really nice together. So I've just joined them all together with a bit of masking tape. So I've started off making my long line of petals, and I've come to the end of my masking tape, and all I have to do then is add another bit of masking tape on, so you can make this as long as you like. It's a bit more fiddly if you use a really long piece of masking tape, so it's better to just keep adding as you go along. That's the point where it gets a little bit fiddly. Okay, so I'm just going to finish off adding these ruffles on. I think the nice thing about using the filters is not only the colours that you can get, but also it's really easy to sort of like mould into shape as well with the masking tape. But I didn't need that extra with masking tape. So now I'm going to add this to the middle of my rose. And I'm just going to stick it, let's get it to the right, that's it. I'm just going to stick it, still keeping that sort of like cone shape. I want it a little bit more ruffly. Ruffly, is that a word? I don't know. So there, that's looking good. Okay, so as I'm going, I'm also sort of like moving the masking tape into place as well, so I'm not just winding it round. So that's what it's looking like at the moment, and I'm going to come back to you when I've finished putting it together. So I'm going to put this colour on next, and then the reds and the dark red will be the bit on the outside. Okay. Right, okay, I've finished making the head of the rose, which looks like that. Now if I had more filter paper, I would have made the outside a little bit bigger. As I've gone round, I've made the filter paper slightly wider. Okay, so it starts quite thin in the middle and then goes out a little bit wider, and then I've added some masking tape to make it a bit more stable in the middle. All I need to do is add my skewer, so I made a little hole. Now it's not going to go in. Ah, that's it. Right, okay. So I've added my skewer, and I'm going to fix it on with a little bit more masking tape. It's better to be safe than sorry. That's what I say. Okay, so you just want to wind that round. Keep it safe. But also we're going to be covering the head with some green paper as well, so in actual fact that looks lopsided. So what I'm going to do is, this is masking tape, it's a little bit genius, so you can use it to model with as well. Now you don't have to do this. I'm being a little bit pedantic because I want it to look symmetrical, I suppose. Right, that's looking a little bit more symmetrical now. Okay, it's a bit better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of the green filter paper, and I'm going to wind it round to cover up the masking tape. I'm going to use quite strong PVA glue. With the leaves, I've got this the green paper, and I'm just going to cut out leaf shapes, and it being doubled up you get two at the same time, so you want to get as many as you can out of one of the, again I'm off camera, Oh, that's it. That's quite a few. I'm not sure I'll need any more. Let's check. Yeah, so these I'm going to stick over this part. If you can see, which you can't. I'm going to stick it over this part. Oh dear, not having a good day today. Been doing a little bit of DIY, and my house is quite old. It's built in 1890, and I'm doing the lounge up at the moment, and the walls are quite the walls are quite crumbly, let's say, and I've just finished preparing the lounge wall, part of the lounge wall, filling in all the gaps, having taken down a huge bookcase that was up, and yesterday, huge crash, bookcase has fallen down and gouged a hole in my wall. So I'm like, oh right, so that went well. This is the finished rose, almost, but not quite. As you can see, it's got the leaves going up the outside of the rose head, and also the filter paper going down the length of the skewer. You can use tissue paper. You can also add some leaves, some more leaves to the outside to make it a little bit lifelike, a little bit more lifelike. Mine doesn't have any thorns because mine is a friendly rose. Okay, now I thought this would be a good activity to do for VE Day, because roses, Britain, you know, that kind of thing. It is, yes, it is quite fiddly, but it is a lot of fun, and the roses that you come out with are absolutely superb. So the last thing I'm going to do is to add glitter. You don't have to add glitter, but it does make them look rather spectacular if you do. Now, what you want to do, and I'm using glue that's been watered down, as I've already said. I'm just going to sort of like lightly dust the rose, like if you can see it, like if I've got the rose on the camera, lightly dust the rose with some glue. So I want to make sure it's on the ends. Petals are, and then I'm just going to stick it in the glitter. You just want to pop it on very lightly. I've done this before, honestly. Oh, alright. It's not advisable to throw the glitter around everywhere. That's what I wanted. And a little bit on that side, that's it. Okay, I'm going to shake the glitter off a little bit, and there you have it. There's your finished rose with the glitter on the end.